The 20th century began with hope and ended in ashes. At the dawn of the century, Europe was full of optimism and progress. But these hopes soon turned into nightmares. The name Adolf Hitler is a synonym for evil. This man, born in Austria, became a symbol of destruction and hatred. His actions plunged the world into darkness. Millions died in his name. How did this happen? How did he manage to control an entire nation? How did a failed artist and frustrated soldier become a dictator? How did he transform from an ambitious young man into a tyrannical leader? The answers lie in the twisted paths of history, the events that shaped his life and the circumstances he exploited. To understand Hitler is to understand the fragility of peace. After World War I, Europe was in chaos. It is to confront the depths of human cruelty. It is a warning for all time. The atrocities he committed cannot be forgotten. The world must never forget the lessons of the Nazi era. The Nuremberg trials were the beginning of justice. We must remain vigilant against hatred. We must learn from the past. We must strive for tolerance and understanding. International cooperation is the key to peace. Only then can we hope to prevent such atrocities from happening again. The United Nations was founded for this purpose. This is the story of Hitler's rise and fall, a story full of lessons. It's a story we must never forget. Remembering is our duty to future generations. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889. In a small town called Braunau am Inn, he grew up in modest surroundings. His childhood was marked by poverty and a strict father. He was a rebellious student, and often clashed with his teachers. He didn't have many friends and tended to be solitary. Art was his passion, but he failed to gain admission to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. This rejection fueled his resentment, and he became bitter towards society. He wandered, withdrew into himself, and blamed others for his failures. He felt isolated and alone in a big city like Vienna. Vienna in the early 20th century was a melting pot of cultures and ideologies. Anti-Semitism was rampant, and there were many social and political tensions. Hitler absorbed these toxic ideas. He was deeply influenced by the anti-Semitic propaganda that was widespread at the time. He saw Jewish people as scapegoats for Germany's problems. He believed they were the cause of all his personal and societal problems. This prejudice festered within him and grew into a raging hatred. This hatred was the fuel that ignited the fires of World War II. World War I broke out in 1914. Hitler volunteered for the German army. He fought on the Western Front. He received the Iron Cross for his bravery. But the brutality of war left deep scars on him. He felt betrayed by Germany's defeat. He couldn't accept it. In the chaotic aftermath of the war, Germany was in turmoil. The economy was in ruins. Political extremism flourished. Hitler found a sense of purpose in this chaos. He was drawn to groups that shared his anger and bitterness. The seeds of his twisted ideology were sown. Hitler discovered a talent for public speaking. He could captivate audiences with his fiery speeches. He denounced the Treaty of Versailles. He blamed Jewish people and communists for Germany's problems. His message resonated with many Germans. They too felt humiliated and betrayed. In 1920, Hitler joined the small German Workers' Party. He quickly rose through the ranks. He renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party. The swastika became its symbol. A dark force was gaining momentum. Part 5. The Nazi Party. A toxic seed takes root. The Nazi Party offered simple solutions to complex problems. It promised to restore Germany's pride. It vowed to eliminate enemies within and outside Germany. Fueled by propaganda and fear, its message spread like wildfire. Hitler's charisma attracted followers. His promises seduced a nation desperate for hope. Germany in the 1920s was fertile ground for extremism. Economic depression gripped the country. Unemployment soared. People were desperate. They sought scapegoats. They yearned for a strong leader. Hitler presented himself as their savior. Part 6. Triumph and Terror. The Third Reich begins. The Nazi Party gained power through intimidation and violence. Its paramilitary wing, the SA, terrorized opponents. The Reichstag fire in 1933, likely set by the Nazis, gave Hitler an excuse to seize absolute power. He became Chancellor of Germany. Democracy died. Hitler wasted no time consolidating his grip on power. He banned other political parties. He silenced the press. He established a totalitarian state. Concentration camps were built to imprison his enemies. The reign of terror had begun. Part 7. Global War, Unimaginable Atrocities. Hitler's ambitions extended beyond Germany's borders. He dreamed of expanding German territory. He wanted to create a vast empire. In 1939 he invaded Poland, igniting World War II. The world watched in horror as the Nazis unleashed their fury. The Holocaust was the Nazis' most horrific crime. Millions of Jewish people, Roma, homosexuals, and other minorities were systematically murdered in death camps. The world had never seen such barbarity. The stain of the Holocaust will forever be etched in human history. Part 8. The walls close in. The end of the nightmare. For a time, Hitler's armies seemed unstoppable. They occupied most of Europe, but his aggression ultimately led to his downfall. The tide turned against Germany. Allied forces landed in Normandy on D-Day, 1944. The Soviet army advanced from the east. With defeat imminent, Hitler retreated to his bunker in Berlin. There, on April 30, 1945, he committed suicide. His reign of terror was finally over. The world celebrated the defeat of Nazi Germany, but the scars of war ran deep. Part 9. Echoes of Tyranny, Never Forget. The world rebuilt itself from the ashes of World War II. The period of reconstruction was full of challenges, as nations worked together to rebuild cities and infrastructure destroyed by the war. But the lessons of this conflict must never be forgotten. The sacrifices of millions should serve as a constant reminder to us all. Hitler's rise to power serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of nationalism, hatred, and unchecked ambition. He exploited feelings of resentment and fear to rise to power. It shows how easily a society can be seduced by a populist leader. Inflammatory rhetoric can lead to disastrous consequences. We must remain vigilant against all forms of bigotry. Tolerance and understanding are the foundations for building a better future. We must teach future generations about the horrors of the past. Through education, we can ensure that these atrocities are never repeated. We must speak out against injustice. Silence can be complicit. Only then can we hope to prevent history from repeating itself. We must learn from the mistakes of the past. The world must never forget the name Adolf Hitler. He is a symbol of the evil that can arise when bigotry is left unchecked. But more importantly, the world must never forget the millions of innocent lives taken in his name. Remembering them is our moral duty.